I want to introduce Brigitte. And Brigitte has a very interesting sort of career that started off in academia. She's worked in fresh produce, where she was representing a parastatal, and she talks about the beautiful politicians' lunches and all the dramas that used to go on after that. She's got a love of beautiful juices, and she's got a nutritious sort of love, and starts her day off with a beautiful concoction of fresh produce. She also loves, and one of the things that you'll certainly learn about Brigitte is her love for people and empathy, and certainly doing better, and certainly you have seen that weave through Greg, through Dan, and now you'll see it through Brigitte in terms of a love for people and really a love for potential and a love for realizing the greatness in every single person that works here at McDonald's. And Brigitte, thank you. Oh, and sorry, by the way, I forgot to tell you about Lita, who is doing our graphic facilitation here on the right. And she represents her business, which is Three Stickmen. And as you can see, a picture is worth 1,000 words. Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. Transformation of the business. And Daniel spoke about the transformation of the brand. And I'm going to speak about the transformation of the people through the introduction of a new organizational culture. So what happened is that about 3-4 years ago, McDonald's globally appointed a new CEO, and his job was to actually fix the brand, to improve it, to evolve it. And that's exactly what he did. So he started by introducing a new strategy for the global brand. And one of the steps now is to align our people by having an appropriate culture to support the new strategy. We started in 2016 by announcing the new organizational culture that consists of 3 pillars, and I'll share that with you. In 2017, we started the culture conversation in South Africa, and I'm going to show you how we did that. I have to say, as an HR practitioner, it's not that common to roll out a new organizational culture. So it's been quite a privilege to work on something like this, and I've certainly enjoyed it. I'm here with members of the human capital team. I'll ask them all to stand. Please. Here they are. This is the team behind the culture evolution journey. Very well supported by our colleagues in marketing. Their partnership has been absolutely instrumental. I thought this particular quote from the Corporate Leadership Council was absolutely appropriate. It says, culture offers scale and impact across thousands of employees. So as Greg said, we've got 12,000 people across the country. And in this instance, I can certainly say definitely we've been able to reach all those employees and introduce the new organizational culture, get them aligned behind the new organizational culture. And because we're McDonald's, we did it in a way that was lively, we did it in a way that was fun. So when Global introduced the new 3 cultural pillars, we said, how are we going to do it in South Africa? We have a unique identity in South Africa, and we felt that we need to introduce this in a way that is uniquely South African, because that's who we are. We put a South African spin on it, and you'll see it in the language we used, in the approach we took to the initiation of this new organizational culture. In McDonald's, if you haven't picked it up by now, we are a family. We're 12,000 people, but I promise you it feels like a family. Yesterday, I did a tour of restaurants with one of the general managers, and I promise you, you walk in and it feels like you're visiting family. It's absolutely amazing. It's very, very special. I mean, as Ursula said, I've worked in a number of industries, and I can tell you there's something just very, very special about this particular company and the sort of culture it has. So our idea was to create a sense of unity, because that's very much authentic. That's who we are as McDonald's, to create a club, a reason to be proud of the movement. Regardless of what makes us different, McDonald's unites us. This was the logo. You can see the play on the word culture to South Africanize it a little bit. And so we launched this logo called the Culture Club. And we use it. It's our internal branding. We use it all over. If you go to the restaurants, you may see some of our crew walking around with caps. You'll find this logo at the front of the cap. They all know what it means. They all understand it. They all love it, actually. This was the 2017 journey. So we launched by Global. And then we started localizing the conversation around culture. So what we did is we started having a conversation amongst our people about South African culture. Because we're very clear, this is South Africa. We're going to do this in a South African way. We then got 250 people in a room in May last year, and we had an alignment conversation. And what was the conversation all about? It was saying, well, these are the 3 culture pillars. What does it mean to us? How will we know if we're living up to the new organizational culture? What kind of behaviors will we see in our people, in our colleagues? And then we started having conversations with the leadership in the restaurants. So the leader in a restaurant is the restaurant manager. They're the business manager. They run the restaurant. And we wanted to, it was always, when you're doing a change initiative, of course, align the leadership first. So we started a conversation with the regional restaurant managers through a series of workshops. They were so well received. Siba was leading that piece of work. And I promise you, the energy, the fun, the passion, it was amazing. We then had another conversation with our corporate employees. And then we did something, I think, that really gave us a little bit of an edge. We selected 5 culture champions in each restaurant. And that really helped because they are the people that keep the concept of the culture alive in the restaurant. One of the initiatives that our business partners introduced is this concept of Culture Fridays. So the crew in the restaurant will choose a theme around culture. And it could be anything to do with culture, organizational culture, and then they will maybe dress up in an outfit that sort of like shows that theme. When you visit the restaurant, you speak to the restaurant managers, what they say to you is, they say when that Friday comes, the energy levels are absolutely amazing. And what's really nice is we literally have empowered the restaurants to own this. So they decide how to express Culture Fridays. They decide what's important to them, what's fun for them. They typically send us pictures. They send it to Siba. And what we've done is we've had a little competition. And the best sort of restaurants who express Culture Fridays have won a prize. We also, after identifying the culture champions, had regional culture workshops so that they understood their roles. So what we did with the culture champion is we defined the role. It wasn't some loose arrangement. We were very, very clear about what we expected from the culture champions. So we defined the roles. We trained them up through a series of workshops, which were a lot of fun, actually, and then sent them back into the restaurants where they kept the concept of culture alive. We also sent our business partners back into the restaurant to hit any staff that we hadn't reached up to that point. So they went into the restaurant, they had a toolkit, and they did presentations to the crew in the restaurant. This came out of our workshop. I said earlier we spoke about an alignment workshop which we had in May last year. So these are our 3 culture pillars: customer obsessed, better together, committed to lead. I can tell you this is, we had a very senior McDonald's leader, he's the number 4 in the world, coming to visit our market. And he asked the question, is this only alive in the boardroom? And then we did some restaurant tours and I said, test for yourself. And he did. He went into the restaurants and engaged with the managers, he engaged with the crew, and people were living this. It's been absolutely phenomenal. Again, just to support what Daniel was saying, these culture pillars help us to give also a better experience to our customers. We are quite customer obsessed, I have to tell you. And we find ways of expressing it every single day. These were the series of culture workshops. You can see we had many, many across the country where we trained up the culture champions. So 2018, we had a very successful year in 2017 around launching the new organizational culture. In fact, in the McDonald's system, so McDonald's is present in over 100 countries globally. It employs over 2 million people globally. And South Africa was selected as one of the top countries with regards to the deployment of culture. So that was absolutely a proudly South African moment. because we're beating Germany, etc., etc. But we're not going to lose momentum because we're actually loving what we're doing. So in 2018, we're continuing the conversation around culture. We're also very mindful of the fact that it's hard to change an organizational culture in 1 year. You've got to reinforce it, you've got to eat it again. So what we're doing is we're keeping the theme of getting people connected, because that's who we are. It's authentic. We love the connectedness. We love the family atmosphere in McDonald's. We'll continue to be bold, focused, and passionate about how we go about this. We're introducing a new element. So McDonald's, we are very ambitious. I promise you've never seen such competitive people as McDonald's people. Just launch a competition and you'll see how they perform. So we're introducing a new concept. It's called Amplified Winning Culture. So we're taking our 3 culture pillars and saying, how do we win as a business using these 3 culture pillars? And then we're going to be keeping the concept of a club, and then we're going to sort of like have all this culminate in crew rallies, which are going to be very, very exciting. And I'll say a bit more about that in a minute. This is our plan, culture deployment plan for 2018, all on one page. So you can see that we are building an app which will run on people's phones. Every single crew member will be able to use the app, the application. This app should be built and tested already by April, as you can see over there. We will then deploy the app for 90 days, starting in May, between May and July. And then, so what does the app do? So the app is actually a tool to reinforce culture and behaviors around culture. So every single crew member, every single manager will be given allocated points. And they can use the points to reward and recognize their peers, recognize their management, recognize their direct subordinates, and award them through points. The points can be converted into cash, and that cash can be used to recognize somebody. What we think is going to be really powerful about this, first of all, McDonald's people love competition. So anytime somebody does something amazing, it will be visible to 12,000 people because it's on the app, and everybody's looking at the app. We will also be using the app for videos. So if Greg wants to launch a message or Daniel wants to give a message to 12,000 people to support the culture conversation, we will be doing videos, and these videos will be deployed through the app as well. So we're going to be able to communicate with all 12,000 of our people in real time, which we're quite excited about. So you'll see there will be a total of 8 videos. These sort of blue blocks indicate the videos. We're going to start the year. Siba's working very hard on the winning culture workshops, which we've already piloted 1 session. We will be launching those from next week, again in our regional centers, so Cape Town, Eastern Cape, Durban, etc. Every single restaurant manager will be invited to this particular workshop, and that includes restaurants that are owned by the corporation, which is 60% of our restaurants, and restaurants that are owned by franchisees. They'll all be invited to these workshops. We will introduce them to the whole concept of winning culture, using culture to win in your business, and developing a winning mindset, which we think is very important. We are ambitious as McDonald's, so the concept of winning is very important to us. We really think that we can do much better in South Africa, and so we're using culture to prepare ourselves also for the future, for a more ambitious future where McDonald's will be bigger. One of the initiatives we've got is that we're going to be launching this idea of a virtual choir. The people in the virtual choir will be all our employees in the different restaurants, and we're going to be taking the sort of like we've identified a song that they're going to be singing. We're going to be taking it and making one seamless video of them performing this particular song, and we think they're absolutely going to love it. For us, an absolute highlight, and this is again where we've partnered very closely with marketing, is the crew rallies, which will happen in September. So, you know, what we're going to do is the individuals in the restaurants who've been awarded the most points through the app are going to be invited to an absolutely massive rally. So you're going to have 2,000 to 3,000 people at each of these rallies, and we'll have 3 across the country. And at the rally, we'll spend the day in a sort of absolutely amazing way. We're going to build a massive stage because the production on this is going to be very, very big. We want to give them an experience they will never forget. We're going to spend the day, once again, having conversations and embedding the new organizational culture. And then our colleagues in marketing are also working on an initiative where they're launching, I think it's called the Red Sox Concerts, to raise money for RMHC, our charity of choice that Daniel shared with you. And they're going to be using some of South Africa's top musical acts at this particular concert. So the crew that are at the workshop in the afternoon will stay for the concert in the evening. So these are people who may not be able to afford to see the top, like Casper Njorves. They may not be able to afford to see him, and now they'll be able to enjoy the concert with some of our customers that Daniel will be inviting to the concert. We know it's going to be massive because McDonald's people, we fun people. We get very excited. We don't need a license to have fun. So I think it's going to go down very well with our crew. This is just a little bit about the winning culture workshop. So culture is very important to us, obviously. Greg spoke about how it's linked absolutely to our strategy. And for us, the idea of just building a winning mindset in our people is part of how we develop them for the future as well. And Ursula is telling me I've got 5 minutes. So these are the workshops that we'll be having. You can see we like to have workshops because we like to dialogue with our people. We have a lot of conversations in McDonald's. We dialogue, we win together. So, you know, when you using so much energy to put together a program like that, the question is it working? How do we know it's working? So I'm going to show you one indicator. You know, obviously we are in contact with our people. So Greg is often in the restaurants. He'll be in contact. He'll speak to the people in the restaurants. We have a sense of what's going on. But we also measure how they're feeling. And Sibo did our surveys not so long ago, and look at the trajectory. On the left, you see the people index score for crew. So these are 3 waves. A wave happens every 6 months. You can see we've gone from 74% to 81% positive. On the right are our managers. We've gone from 84% to 90%. So we're using all these resources, we're using all this money to launch culture, to have conversations, to prepare the business for the future. And from our perspective, it's definitely working. I'd like to leave you now with a video that sort of captures our sort of take on culture, our conversation on culture. I think it will give you a good sense of what we're all about when it comes to the new organizational culture.